Hello, people. Hopefully, your CAT went well. And for those of us that CAT did not go well, don't lose hope. There are a slew of other exams coming up. Perhaps you should focus your efforts on making sure that those exams go as per your expectation. I hope everyone is already out of the CAT slumber. We are no longer bothered with percentile predictions and correct answer keys because, in any way, within 3 to 4 days, you would have your response sheet coming out and then you would know for sure. Right now, every piece of information with regards to that is speculative in nature and not worth trusting at all. The next main exam on the horizon is, of course, for those of us who would have scheduled SNAP, uh, for those of us who would have scheduled NMAT, and then, of course, there are 3 slots of SNAP happening. And then there is this wonderful exam by the name of XAT. And every year at Anastasis Academy, we have a course by the name of Project CODA. CODA literally translates to support. So this is the support bit for the last phase of your preparation and therefore named CODA. Let's look at what all is there within the course. But prior to that, let's look at what all is there in the XAT test. XAT, the Xavier Aptitude Test, 2025. It happens on the first Sunday of every year. First Sunday of every year, unless it is 1st January, then it happens on 8th January. Otherwise, always first Sunday of every year. There are 2 parts to this exam this year, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 has 3 sections: VALR, verbal ability and logical reasoning, decision making, quantitative aptitude, and data interpretation. Now, decision making is a new section that you would have to prepare for from scratch. The first section has a total time limit of 170 minutes, which is to say, you don't get to pick in, as in, you don't have to go in a certain order. You can choose to do quant first, you can choose to do verbal ability first, you can choose to do decision making first. That choice is left up to the student. In the second part, there are general knowledge questions. There will be 20 questions that you have to attempt within 10 minutes. Wonderful thing is, there is no negative marking for this section, and this section is also not taken into account at the time of your percentile calculation. This is only used by a few institutes at the time of their admission. This has no bearing on your overall percentile that you get in CAT. Now, here we have 20 questions. This is guaranteed because they've come out with a notification stating the same. For VALR section, there are about 26 questions. For DM, there are about 21 questions. For quant, there are about 28 questions. Why we are using the prefix about is because some years there may be 27 VALR questions or 22 DM questions or 27 quant questions. The numbers are within this, around this range itself, but it's not going to change drastically, and because it has already come out in the notification. Now, within the VALR section, it will have critical, analytical reasoning, reading comprehension, including poems and passages, vocabulary, basic English grammar. So basically, everything that you studied for CAT along with the other OMETs, all of that gets tested within this VALR section. In the QADI section, as the name would indicate, quant-based questions and data interpretation-based questions. Now, although they've named it DI, it does not mean LR sets are out of range. You can have QA and DILR. All sorts of sets are possible here. You can get arrangement sets, you can get truth teller, liar puzzles, and games and tournament. All sorts of things can be asked here. Now, the decision-making section, the most fun section of any exam across the board, is going to give you real life situations. And then in such situations, what would you do? How would you go about solving stuff? How would you think to handle such situations? And then that is being tested here. XLRI, the primary institute under the XAT ambit, projects itself as the most socially conscious and responsible institute, and they are looking for kids with that bent of mind. And that is why they've included decision making. What this also does is it removes the barrier for, let's say, somebody who is from an engineering background. They are, at least the image is, they're better at QA and DI sort of things. But here in DM, nobody is better at DM. The engineers, the non-engineers, it genuinely depends on what sort of experiences you've had, what sort of upbringing you've had. So DM tests that. On the other end of the spectrum, you may have people who believe that somebody who is very good at English because of maybe a privileged background or more access to resources at the time of their development. So those people again, decision making would is not a factor of your upbringing or the resources that you have at your disposal. It is simply an outcome of what has been taught to you as ethical, non-ethical. Although the answer does not always have to be ethical in DM. That is one of the flaws of the DM section that most people always go with. But regardless, DM checks your decision making ability, because as managers, you're expected to engage in a lot of high pressure situations, and how you will how you will behave in such a situation is being tested via this section. It is a wonderful section and requires a lot of effort from your end in order to master. Okay. Now, uh, certain updates that they've mentioned. GK score, the score from GK section will be exclusively utilized by Accelerate Jamshedpur. Although they are saying this, there are certain B schools that fall under the XAT ambit that do take into account your GK score. So this information is not accurate. At least it may be accurate from the side of Accelerate, but it is not accurate because there are other institutes that are taking GK scores into their account. Analytical essay writing, AEW. So up until last year, they also had an essay section involved in the paper. In the part two, you had general knowledge and an essay bit. So they've discontinued the essay bit from this year, and they are going to conduct it along with the personality assessment round that happens after the entrance test at the time of final selection. So GDPI round that they will have the essay bit there itself. And the test is scheduled for January 5, 2025, which is the first Sunday of the next. They've also gone ahead and specifically mentioned the changes that have happened from 2024 test structure to 2025 test structure. What precisely has happened? The integration of the analytical essay writing, AEW, with GD and PI process. This is a wonderful move from their end, because see, this essay bit was only accessible to Accelerate people. The GK percentile is available on your scorecard. GK percentile. It is not included in the final percentile, but the GK percentile is available in your scorecard. On the other hand, uh, the essay was only accessible to Accelerate, so it was exclusively being used by Accelerate. The fact that they were forcing everyone who was appearing for that, regardless of whether they were targeting Accelerate or not, some of us may potentially be targeting TAPME, or may potentially be targeting XIMB, or may potentially be targeting IMT. Why were those people being forced to write an essay? At least that has been taken care of from this year, which is a wonderful thing. Additionally, in the GK section, last year, there used to be 25 questions. From this year on, there will be 20 questions. They've also been kind enough to mention the split. 12 questions on current affairs and 8 questions on static GK, they have mentioned. Also, they keep on changing the timings every year. So last year, to the best of my memory, it was 165 plus 25. This year, it will be 170 plus 10. Total time of the exam will be 180 minutes. First 170 minutes will be for part A, the 3 sections, VALR, DM, and QADI, and the final 10 minutes for the GK section. And the GK section, as previously informed, has no negative marking. So you have to do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and mark all answers. Even if you get like 2 guesses correct, that adds to your score. Okay, wonderful. Now, one fun thing that I wanted to share was last year when they did have an essay, I wrote this essay. I take the exam every year. I do reasonably well. We will look at that later. But I think this is from XAT 2023, 2 years back. There was a topic. Someone with half your IQ is making 10x as you because they aren't smart enough to doubt themselves. You have to write an essay. And because I don't care for admission into Accelerate or any other college, I always write a feedback of sorts in this essay section because they did not allow me to leave the exam on. And my first point here, if you see, as always, I do not care for the essay bit in exam, given it is a common exam for all institute and the essay part is only used for selection into Accelerate. This is similar to inviting everyone who is interested in cricket for trials and then only looking at performance of those who are playing in Ranji Trophy cricket, because that is where usually you select your players from for the national team. Basically, forcing everyone to write the essay, yet it will only be used for a specific purpose, is not worthwhile. Why make people jump through hoops that you can happily avoid and perhaps have a far better test execution? Apart from that, in 2023, there was a center allocation fiasco. People were getting centers 250 kilometers and 300 kilometers away from their home location. As in, somebody sitting in Mumbai had been allocated a center in Jaipur. Somebody sitting in Delhi had been allocated a center in Bhubaneswar. All those sorts of fun things had happened. And XAT people are notorious for releasing the admit card very late, within the last week prior to the exam itself. So at that time, it was very, very sad. And then what they did was, in the admit card, they told us we will not entertain any requests for change of center. Yet some people complained, created a hullabaloo, reached out to them. And then all those people who had shouted, all those people who had complained, their centers got changed. Their centers became more amenable, and people like me who did not shout, who did not complain, I had to go all the way to Agra to take my exam from Delhi, which was not ideal. So I had written a complaint about that. Then I had written a complaint that this is the first year that XAT conveners were going around on different YouTube channels and trying to discuss what the paper would be like. And one of the channels that we had gone to was a King channel, and I don't like the King channel. Hopefully, you know that by now. So I had told them, what would make it even better? A simple YouTube video talking about why certain answer in DM is preferred over the others. Because for decision making, there is always a degree of uncertainty why a particular answer was chosen over the others. Not aided by the fact that most institutes, they come out with an answer key prior to the XAT official answer key. They also come up with detailed written explanation for that. After the official answer key comes out, sometimes they are conscious enough to change the explanation. Sometimes they leave their original explanation, they leave the original choice that they had marked, which is empirically wrong. Which is why for DM, you would see very often in the industry, in one particular website, you'll see the answer choice is something else. In another website, you'll see the answer choice is something else. And both of them are claiming these are the official answer choices. So that sort of reliable decision-making answer key is only the response sheet that you get from XAT. Everything else is bad. And on top of that, if XAT or the XAT convener or the exam executing authority came out with some way why a particular decision-making answer is preferred over the others, that would be better. Instead of simply going around on different reputable and non-reputable YouTube channels, simply say it would be better for these at image if they came out with an explanation or at least some sort of guidance of what exactly made a particular answer choice better than the others. Don't give us the syllabus because no exam gives out the syllabus, but at least make a concerted effort towards clarifying why a particular DM answer is better over the other. And then my final point was, I know no one will read this because I had not applied to XLRI. I will, of course, not apply to XLRI. I'm not looking for a seat there. I know no one will read this, whatever this is. And that is my entire first point. The first point being this one. Don't make me write an essay. Don't make people who are not targeting XLRI write an essay because it will only be used by XLRI. So I'm very glad that they have taken action on this. This is a one-off incident, so I don't know if such a situation repeats. I hope in future, sometime they also take an action on this, wherein the decision-making answers, they have some video. If XAT convener can go around on multiple YouTube channels talking of the XAT test and what all is happening, maybe after the test, there could be a 1 hour session on your XAT channel that will make it extremely popular, talking about why a particular answer choice is better than the other answer choice. That would make XAT far more popular than the mess it is currently in with regards to unreliability of answers and false answers being floated in the market. Okay. Now, more information. XLRI DM. Up until 2022, XLRI is Xavier Labor Relations Institute, the most prestigious B school under the XAT ambit. It is comparable to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta under the CAT ambit. Up until 2022, they had different cutoffs for male and female. But 2023 onwards, last two cycles, they have different cutoffs for male engineers, female engineers, and male non-engineers, female non-engineers. You can perhaps see it here. These are the overall cutoffs, the sectional cutoffs, the BALR cutoff, everything is available here. You can have an information. And the wonderful thing with XAT is, as long as you clear the cutoff, it does not matter if you're barely clearing the cutoff or you're clearing the cutoff comfortably. Everybody has a fair shot. In a lot of other places, the exam entrance score, let's say for NMAT, the higher the score that you have, the better the chances of your conversion, because 70% of your final selection, it depends on your NMAT score. But in XAT, they have never released particular weightages for different sections. But somebody just clearing the cutoff has an equal chance of conversion as somebody who gets the All India rank 1 in the XAT paper. So this is a wonderful B school. Of course, XLRI is known for its HRM course. It is the best HR course in all of Asia, is what they claim. I would perhaps venture out to say it is best in the world. In fact, XLRI originally was instituted as an HR institute because in Jamshedpur, Tata wanted managers, HR managers for their factories, for their steelworks. So they set up this institute. Originally, it only had the HR course. Later, it expanded into also having a general management, the BM course. The different cutoffs for HRM from 2020 onwards itself, they had different cutoff for male engineers, female engineers, male non-engineer and female non-engineer. You can again have a look at all the cutoffs. If you look at a brief glance would tell you that the VALR cutoff is usually higher in HRM compared to BM, and the QADI cutoff is usually lower in HRM compared to BM. So decision making is fairly inconsistent. Sometimes it is equivalent, sometimes it is lower. But QADI for HRM course desirous people, here the QADI cutoff is slightly lower, but VALR cutoff is higher. For BM, VALR cutoff is slightly lower, but QADI cutoff is slightly higher. Overall cutoffs also mentioned here. You can have a look and perhaps get to an estimate at what score, as in what sort of percentiles you need to be targeting for XLRI exclusive. Okay. Now talking of what we are offering, what Project CODA is. Project CODA, there are 20 plus live two-way discussion sessions. In these discussion sessions, there will be some workshops, there will be some past year paper discussions, there will be some answer as in mock discussions, BM sectional discussions, because what all is included will be mentioned there. There are 8 DM sectionals that we are going to conduct. There are going to be 5 full-length mocks that we give out, full-length mocks and 8 DM sectionals. QADI, there will be workshops. VALR, there will be workshops. There will not be sectional tests included here. Now in that VALR section, there will also be 80 tests for critical reasoning and RC, because the RC here is slightly different. There are 5 options, first of all, and it is far more CR-based reasoning that you need to apply rather than CAT, where parajumbles take the cake and parasummary take the cake. Thankfully, there were no parajumbles in CAT this year, but critical reasoning questions and even the RC is revolves a lot around the critical reasoning. So there will be 80 tests for critical reasoning and RC included within the test. There will, of course, be GK quizzes as well. So this is all that we plan to cover in Project CODA. My own personal record in XAT, the first time I took XAT was after I had turned into a teacher. So my first go at XAT, and perhaps this is me telling you why I think I am the right person to teach you, or at least share with you some insights I have gathered about DM over the years. My first ever XAT was at 2017. I had not taken XAT prior to that. 2016, I graduated from FMS after that. This decision-making paper, first time I'd taken. And when I took it for the first time, I went with the general gyan that was floating out on the internet, be ethical in your decisions, this, that. And I went ahead and appeared, took the paper, did not get a very good percentile. So by the time the next year's paper happened, my percentiles shot up immensely. And then what had precisely changed was the fact that I had engaged in a lot of research. I had started solving papers from 2010 onwards, and then started looking at the official answer key given by XAT, and then came up with my own list of insights that got me to the right answer more often than not. And which is not to say I'm a DM expert. There will still be times where I don't score as highly, but I know for certain that whatever insights I have derived, I am confident enough that they will definitely get me to clear cutoff. Even at 79, I was clearing cutoff for that 2017. But even at 79, I was clearing the cutoffs for BM and XLRI for that 2017. But I wanted to make sure that it was a reliable thing. And My own developed insights helped me to get to whatever cutoff percentile needed. Again, I'm not an expert, which will be borne out in my subsequent percentiles. XAT 2019, I got 99.849. XAT 2020, 94.928. This is also the year in which I got All India Rank 1 in XAT. And this was the toughest paper. This was the toughest paper in history of XAT, because in this year, see, usually I have 72% of marks, yet 99.99 percentile. Here I only had 57% marks, yet I was All India Rank 1. The difficulty level of the paper here was immensely, immensely high. So this was the year in which 42 something got 42 or 42.75 was my total score, and yet I was All India Rank 1. Whereas usually in XAT, All India Rank 1s, their scores hover around 55, 56 in that range. So this was an extremely, extremely tough paper. Even when it was an extremely tough paper, the percentile in DM, based on the principles that I had developed, was enough for me to clear the cutoff. Next year, this was a fall from grace. I got 82.7849 percentile in XAT. This year, to the best of my knowledge, based on all the percentiles that I got an AIR 2, because the highest percentile that I was aware of was 99.79 or 89, something like that. This was AIR 2, or worst case AIR 3. That was fine, no problem at all. Every year, my GK percentiles, scores are visible to you. GK percentiles, they are somewhere here and there. Nobody cares for them. But this year, my DM, honestly, I had not studied for DM this year. I will not say that it's not an excuse so much as I had not studied for DM very much. I was occupied otherwise, and therefore when I had gone into the exam hall, I was simply marking answers of vibes instead of learnings that I had assimilated. Again, when I get a low percentile next year, my target is, let me correct that, next year I got 99.8391 percentile. I was happy. Okay, I have fixed this. And sadly, my VA percentile for this year had gone down, so I targeted to improve my VA percentile in the next cycle. I got a decent enough percentile in that 2024, which was the last exam conducted. But for the life of me, I'm unable to figure out where that scorecard is. These are my 6 scorecards, last 6 scorecards that I could lay my hands on. And perhaps you can see, I'm not claiming to be a DM expert, but I am claiming the principles that I use in order to arrive at decision-making answers will definitely get you to clear the cutoff. Even when I had an abysmally low score, clearing the cutoffs easily in for every course, DM and HRM. I was clearing the cutoff for both of them. Let me check 2022 cutoffs. 2022 cutoffs, I was DN 70 and 70 and 70 and 70 for HRM. It is all clear. For 2022, DN 72 and 72. Easily clearing the cutoff. That is not a constraint. The constraint was, of course, it is not a very, very impressive percentile in line with what I want to get. Okay, that is me auditioning or trying to explain to you why I think what I have to offer. And sadly, in DM, what we have in the industry at most places is people don't disagree with answers. Because they know the answers beforehand, they usually go down the path of let's find a way to justify the right answer instead of using consistent set of principles in order to arrive at the answer. I have lots of issues with lots of answers, which is why my third point in the essay was, please give us reasons why at one particular place one answer wins, and at another particular place another answer wins. So as long as these people can potentially provide us with a logical explanation, it is fine. Okay, the project CODA class schedule. The classes will start from 27th November, and we will have 3 to 4 classes per week. Do not start testing right away. One of the weirdest things people do is, or at least on different Telegram groups and Facebook groups, first take a XAT paper, see what decision-making score you're getting, and based on that, decide your preparation. testing before preparing anything is very, very fallacious, because then what would happen if you get too high a score, you would end up becoming complacent and thinking, oh, this section is easy to master, I don't need to put in a lot of effort. It will come back to bite you on your ass on the test day. Or if you get too low a score, then you start second guessing your basic instincts over and over again, which is also not great. So have some theory coverage first, only then turn to testing. Do not take the test first and then worry about whatever is happening. Okay, we have the class will be from 6 p.m. onwards. I'm saying 6 p.m. onwards because I don't know how long the class will go. Sometimes it will get over in 2 hours. Sometimes it will perhaps extend to 3 hours. Sometimes it will perhaps extend to 4 hours. And that is why this has a slightly earlier time than my usual class sessions. I will start at 6 p.m. onwards. Recordings will be available. The course will, of course, have recordings available. The phone number that you can reach out on in case you want more information, anything else that is not addressed in this video, you can reach out on this phone number. You can contact over WhatsApp. In fact, it would be preferred if you contact over WhatsApp because the person may not respond on the phone instantly. But when there is a WhatsApp message, they will call you back, or the connection can be made. Okay. Then the email ID that you can also reach out on is info@anastasis.in. And then there's always our public Telegram group, the link for which is present in the description. Okay. The pricing is 3,599. The enrollment starts now. You can go to the website. You can get enrolled right away. The XAT 2019 DM class from last year. Last year, there was also Project CODA. There was a DM class taken there. That is available in the course for your perusal. You can see it as a trial. And then attending live is highly recommended. Please, please, please do not think that covering it via recordings is okay, because this section has very unique doubts. One individual will have very different doubts from some other individual. So if it is possible, try to attend the class live. Do not try to only watch recordings, or don't rely on recordings, because unless your own individual doubts are being addressed and they are getting addressed in real time, it would lead to a situation of being muddled up in your head. That will not be great. Fun update. We now have an offline center in North Campus, Delhi. The address, the phone number, the email ID, all of that is present here. This is a portion of the brochure that we have designed. So in case somebody wants to visit us, wants to study with us, CODA will be entirely online, but perhaps the GDPI course and the next year's CAT course, there will also be an offline variant that comes up. So in case somebody wants to visit us, this is the center, you can come here. And that will be all the information. In case you have any more questions, you can ask in the comments down below, or you can reach out to us on the different contact modes that are given. That will be all. Have fun. Okay, bye. I'm currently seated in the office. You can perhaps look at the background, sorts of things that we have done. My video is not that great because I'm using a VGA camera. By the time everything else is sorted here, it will be much better. That will be all. Have fun. Okay, bye.